shot your roll of film. You've got your roll right here. There's none sticking out. You've got your developing tank. Everything should already be in your developing tank, but you want to make sure that before you come in here and turn the lights off, you've got everything you need, which is going to be a processing tank, your lid, the center column, and I'm using a slightly larger one because I'm going to develop a few rolls of film. You guys just need one of the traditional ones. So you've got your center column, you've got your reels, which go down all the way to the bottom until you hear that click. They go inside your developing tank, and then that lid, since it stops, it needs to stop light from going inside the developing tank, but it still needs to let chemicals in. It screws on tight. I could literally hold it up like this, and it wouldn't come off. So to take it off, you just screw it off, comes off, and then everything's in there. So you've got your roll of film, you've got your reels, you're ready, you're in here with like 5 or 6 other people. First step is at least 3 of you can start taking the film out of your canister so you can start using your bottle openers. There's one here on the actual table, there's 2 other ones that are handheld, and so there might be like 6 of you in here. The first 3 can kind of line up here and start opening your film, and so the way you're going to do that is you've got one side that's got a bit on it sticking out. You want the flat side, you want the other side. You're going to use this bottom hook, this tooth on the bottle opener, same way if you were opening like a bottle of soda or something. You're going to come down here, you're going to push up. It might take a few tries, so you heard that, it comes off. So that's that bottom part, that's the part that I just took out. And so then, you can actually, from the other side, just push that roll of film right out. So it's tightly rolled up around this plastic spool. And so that first bit that's sticking out, that's what you want. You're going to come here, get your reel. Again, most of you guys have already done this at least once, but it's been a few weeks, so I wanted to make this recap video for you guys. This part, it doesn't matter too much if you're touching with your hands because there aren't any images. This is the last bit. So you're going to get that end. You're going to stick it through the side that has the 2 plastic kind of tooths. It looks like a SpongeBob teeth. You're going to push that through, and then you're going to pull on it just a little bit, just to get it slightly inwards a little more. And then this is what you're going to do. You're just going to turn it back and forth until the whole roll of film, and you may need to readjust it as you go. Try not to touch it too much because all of this middle part is where your images are. So you don't want to get your fingerprints on there, they might stick. So you just keep doing that. Once you get to the end, I don't know if you can see this. Once you get to the end, the film is still going to be stuck to this plastic spool. There's some scissors here, but you're doing this in complete darkness, and so I wouldn't really use the scissors. It's just like kind of worst case scenario. You can actually just pull it off. And again, that part doesn't have any images, so it's okay to just kind of grab with your hands. This side right here is actually all messed up, so it doesn't even matter. Once you've got that plastic spool off, you're just going to turn it more until it is all the way through. You don't want, and again, that part was a little bit torn off, so let's just get rid of that. You're going to turn it back and forth a little bit more until the film is just slightly past this plastic part where we're putting it through. Once you're done with that, again in complete darkness, you're going to slide that reel down the center column. You're going to put the center column and the reel down all the way to the bottom. So you want this, you want the reel and the center column all going down. You do not want it this way. It needs to be facing down. So you're going to push that in there. I'm going to put the lid on and screw it on so that it does not come off. You don't want it to accidentally come off as you're processing, otherwise your film will be completely destroyed. So make sure you guys have lights are completely off. Make sure you don't open that door during the process, otherwise everyone's film will be ruined, it'll be exposed. If you guys need any help at any point, if you're struggling to get that film onto that reel, just make sure you've got all your rolls of film inside, secured, inside the developing tank. Once you've got this sealed and screwed on, then you can open the door and I can come in and help whoever needs help. If you guys are all done except for one person, just wait for that person to be done, or have that person put their film inside their developing tank, and the ones who are done can come out and start developing, and then again that other person can stay back here and continue loading it, or I can come in and help. So I've finished loading my rolls of film. Again, I'm using 2. You guys are just doing 1 at a time, but that's why I'm using this kind of bigger developing tank. If you compare sizes, this one's a little bit taller because it can fit multiple rolls of film. So you've got your developing tank. At this point, you cannot open it up anymore. If you open it up, your film is exposed completely. I do not want to see any ruined film. It's so sad to see them go away. So I've got everything loaded. I've got this sealed. It's safe to have out here. Chemicals go in, no light can go in. So depending on which developing tank you have, you'll use a different agitator stick. So if you've got this first kind, which most of you will, you've got this first kind of developing tank, you're going to come over here to the green tray and get your agitator stick. It's got these little spaces, if you can see at the bottom, that line up with some lines that are in here. And so what the agitator stick does, it helps you rotate the entire film inside. The whole reel is turned. So you need this. If you've got this kind of developing tank, you're going to go into the red tray and get this kind of agitator stick. It's the same thing. It does the same thing. It still has these spaces in there. There's still lines inside this one. It's for this type of tank as opposed to the other one. So depending on which one you have, you'll get different ones. So I am using one that, even if it is bigger, it's still the same as this one right here, these ones. So I'm going to go into the green tray, get myself one of the agitator sticks. And so I'm going to start off with developer. I've got these number stickers on them. First step is developer, which I've got right here, step 1. I'm telling you how much chemical to pour in. If you're doing a roll of 35 millimeter, which again most of you guys are doing, you're going to do 300 milliliters. And so whichever one of these graduated cylinders you are using, it still has the same numbers on them. These are just bigger, and so if you look over here on this first one, it's got a 200, a 400. You can't see the 300 number, but you do see a bigger line on there. That's going to be 300. So if you're doing 35 millimeter, you need 300 milliliters of developer, of fixer, and PhotoFlow. Excuse me, you're using the same amount for all the chemicals. So 300. If you are doing 120, again, some of you Photo 2 students, you have to do 400. And so those numbers just come from how much chemical it takes to cover your film inside. So 300, since the 35 millimeter reels are really small and the film itself is really small, all you need is 300. If you are doing 120, it's a lot taller, so you need more chemicals. That's the only reason. Let me go ahead and start pouring in the developer first, and then I'll let you know what the next steps are. I'm going to pour in the 300 milliliters of developer, and I'm trying to be as exact as possible. So, I need a little bit more. There we go. It is right here at 300. Again, it doesn't have the number on it, but I know that it's the line, the bigger line right in between 200 and 400. So that's going to be 300. Now for developer, I've got my 8-minute timer set. The instructions are also on each one of those sheets that are right above the chemicals that I showed you on the walls. It tells you how long you're going to leave the chemicals in there and when to agitate. So for developer, it's going to be 8 minutes, same as fixer. You're just going to agitate at different times. So let me start pouring that chemical in. Okay, so I've got my chemicals ready. I've got my timer ready. I'm not going to start the timer until I've actually poured all of it in because it's easier that way. So let me start pouring that in. And again, I'm doing more than one roll in here, so I had to put a lot more developer inside. But for you guys, it's just that 300 milliliters. So during the first 30 seconds of developer, you are agitating. So I'm turning the film for the first 30 seconds the whole time. And so I'm not doing it too quickly. I'm not doing it too slowly. I'm just making sure I'm keeping a steady pace. So I'm just turning and turning for the first 30 seconds. And then, there we go, 30 seconds, so I'll stop. And I'll just let it sit there. I'm going to wait for another 30 seconds to go by without agitating. Once those 30 seconds are done, I will agitate again. So I will turn again for 5 seconds. So I'm letting those 30 seconds go by. Okay, 2, 1, 30 seconds have gone by, so I'm going to turn for 5 more seconds. And there we go. And so for the rest of the time, that is what you're going to do. Every 30 seconds, you're going to agitate for 5 seconds. After those 5 seconds, you let go, you let it sit there, you wait another 30 seconds, and then you go again. And you're going to do that every single 30 seconds until you are done. So 30 more seconds. And so I'll go ahead and speed up this part for you guys so you don't have to sit there and watch me agitate for 8 minutes. Okay, so my timer is going off. The developer is the only chemical that we're actually going to pour straight down the drain. So I'm just pouring that straight down the drain. And then I want to rinse it out because I don't want any of that leftover chemical in my developing tank, because as long as those chemicals are touching my film, the developing process is still going on. So I want to stop that process so that I do not overdevelop my film. So I'm rinsing it out a few times. For you guys, just twice should be enough. I just have 2 rolls in there, so there was a lot of developers, so I just want to be safe. So, okay, developing process is done. Okay, so I've poured the developer out of my developing tank. Now I'm moving on to the second step, and so that's why, the second step technically of the chemicals, but it is actually the third step. So step number 1 was developer. Step number 2 was water, so washing it. Step number 3 is fixer, and so that's why there's a 1, a 3, and a 5, because we want to wash our film before we move on to the next chemical. So number 1 developer, number 2 water. Now I'm on to number 3 with fixer. Again, the amount is going to be exactly the same as the developer. For you guys, 300 if you're doing 35 millimeter, or 400 if you're doing 120. So again, I'm doing a lot of film in here. There's 2 rolls, one of 120, one of 35, so my amounts are different. But for you guys, it's going to be 300 or 400. So let me actually start pouring that in. Okay, there we go. So I've got my fixer ready. I've got my developing tank ready. Let me get my timer out again, another 8 minutes. This time, the only difference is we don't need to be agitating the first 30 seconds consistently. We're still doing 8 minutes, and we're still going to agitate every 30 seconds for 5 seconds, but we don't have to do the initial 30 seconds. So I'm going to just pour that fixer in. Start my 8-minute timer, and I'm going to agitate this for 5 seconds and then wait. In exactly the same way we did the developer, I'm going to wait those 30 seconds and then agitate again for 5 seconds. And I'm going to do that every 30 seconds until the 8 minutes are done. So again, I won't make you sit there and watch this whole thing. So I will see you guys on the other side once I'm done with my fixer. My timer there is going off again. This time, just like the bottle says, you're going to pour it back in. So, pour that back in, making sure to grab onto the lid. You never know, maybe it's not super tight, so you just want to make sure that you pour that out well. And again, I'm going to go wash this now, same way we did before. Okay, once I know I've washed it out pretty well, we are ready for that next part, which is going to be the last chemical, and that is PhotoFlow, which all PhotoFlow does is it helps your film not get any kind of smudges or dirt on it. It'll help it be cleaner, essentially. So let's go ahead and pour out our PhotoFlow, and again, just 300 for 35 millimeter and 400 milliliters for 120 film. Okay, got mine. And then this time, you're pretty much done. It's only going to be 1 minute. So, 1 minute, and then you are going to agitate constantly that entire minute. So, I've poured it all in, started my 1 minute timer, and I'm going to just agitate constantly. Okay, and so at this point, we have developed our film. We stopped that developing process by washing it. We moved on to fixer, which makes sure that that picture sticks to that film. And then we washed it again, make sure that weren't any chemicals left over, any fixer or developer. And then we did PhotoFlow to make sure that our film kind of stays clean. So now the developing process is done. It is safe to open this up. So you're going to turn that, lift it, and you can now move that reel out of the center column. You're going to drop your film down this washer. So there is this tube in the middle. It's kind of same way that the center column fits through. I can just throw that in. And then I'm going to put my other one. Again, I was developing 2 rolls, so that just moves down there. And then now, once my rolls of film are in there, I'm going to turn the washer on and set a timer for about 7 minutes and just let it sit there. I can now start cleaning my station, make sure that my developing tank is rinsed off. I want to make sure it's clean for the next person. So I'm going to rinse that out, put that up here, make sure my lid is also rinsed out. I'm going to put it over here to dry. my center column as well. I don't want to have any leftover chemicals. And so as you can hear that, you might be able to hear that. The water goes in, it starts to move up here, and once there's a lot, it starts to be poured right back out. And so this is washing our film, and I can actually turn it on. Turn it back on. Yeah, you pretty much don't have to worry about it anymore. Just let it sit there for those 7 minutes, and then once those 7 minutes are done, you can come here and look at your film. So I'll go ahead and let it sit there. Okay, so my timer is going off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this water on, or off, sorry. And so in order to get your film out, you're gonna pull this up, film out. You can either try pulling it. That might work. What I like to do is very gently. So it's lined up, and then you can actually push it forward, kind of like if you were loading the film. It stops you, but you can actually push it a little bit forward more, and then it'll click, and that way you can just pull this out. And boom. Your film comes out. So, looks like I've got a few pictures on there. It's looking good. All right, so got my film. Made sure that I've got a clothespin with my name on it. And now I'm just gonna go take it to the drying and turn the drying cabinet on so that it dries my film. So let's go over there. Okay, so I've got my roll right here, and I've got my clothespin, and so very gently, I'm going to try to find a good spot to put it. I don't want it to be touching anyone else's film, because when film is wet, it can actually get stuck to other people's film, and I wouldn't want to lose points because I ruined someone else's film. So I'm just going to let it sit there to dry, and then come here, close that up, and turn my drying cabinet on. Okay, so my film is done drying, so I've got it right here. I'm being careful not to grab to actually touch any of the images. I don't want it to get dirty. I don't want to scratch it accidentally. Film is very sensitive. And so for that reason, we need sleeves, like this one I have right here, because you want to protect your film. You don't want it getting scratched up or dirty, because then once we actually make a print, any smudges, any dirt will actually show up on the print, and you don't want that. So let me come over here and get a sleeve for my film. Okay, so now that I have my sleeve and my film, I'm going to put this sleeve, I'm going to put it under and then put my film right on top just to see how many pictures, how many frames can actually fit in this sleeve. And so I'm going to put it right here to line it up to one end and the other end so I can fit 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to come here, get my scissors, and cut right in between the two pictures. So, still handling it very carefully. I'm going to open up the sleeve and very gently guide it in. There we go. So it's going to look something like that. And I'm going to do that to the rest of my film so that every single image is safely in here into that sleeve. So let me do that real quick. So I've got my full roll in here into sleeves. That way I can actually look at them and grab them. I have the light box here so that you can actually look at every single image. Maybe this way you can actually decide which ones you want to print, or you can just kind of look at them. But this light box helps kind of like a projector, and helps you be able to see all of the images. So that is it. At this point, you have now finished the developing process. You've got your dried film. You've got your images here. And you can move on to actually printing them in the darkroom. So that is the next step, darkroom printing. So I hope you guys find this useful. I know the full video is going to be a little bit longer, but you can kind of skip around to the parts that you need. The more you do it, the easier it'll be for you. At this point, I kind of do a lot of these things by just kind of second nature. And so the more you do it, the more you'll feel the same way. But if at any point you forget a step or how to do something, you can refer back to this video and just kind of watch the different parts that you need. So if you guys have any questions, please just always let me know. Come to me. You can message me on Schoology with any questions. I can also help you find other videos for other specific things. Maybe your camera is a little bit different. So yeah, just I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in class.